So our featured speaker today is Mike Langenderfer. He owns the Countertop Shop, and I mean, it seems like every time that we have something going on, he seems to be the guy that's helping us when it comes to anything community-based, or if we need some sponsorships, and just everything that I see him do in the community is fantastic. And I honestly don't think you get enough credit for it, because your philosophy has always been, is just kind of what you do. If you can give back, give back. And I think that's been such a fantastic philosophy for you, Mike. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have you kind of introduce yourself, and then tell everybody what you've been doing in the community, and discuss a little bit about the 1 in a million award that you got, and just kind of take it away, sir.
All right. Well, I'm Mike Langenderfer. I own the Countertop Shop out here on Airport Highway, just west of Chrissy. We do residential countertops, everything from laminate to granite. I've been in business for myself for 32 years, so a little bit of experience. As far as being involved in the community, I guess I'm I know I'm the past chairman of the Holland Springfield Chamber of Commerce. I'm still listed as a SCORE mentor, but I don't do a lot with SCORE anymore. I was on the TASBA board for the University for Toledo Chamber. I'm involved with the Family Business Center at the University of Toledo. I'm on the Vocational Education Committee for Springfield Schools. I'm also involved with Be the Link, which is a program linking the community with the students at Springfield. We're involved with Providence Lutheran Church and their food bank. And I'm also on the board of directors of the International Surface Fabrication Association, which is a worldwide association of countertop fabricators. So I got a lot of spare time. If anybody needs anything, please let me know. As far as, I think the reason that you guys invited me to talk today, whoever posted this on the Facebook account last night about it coming up, it says, Mike will be discussing his community involvement and how it's helped his business thrive. Well, I think that's opposite of what it says. My business is thriving, which allows me to get more involved in the community. Of course, we all want to be involved in things to generate more business and get leads and that kind of stuff. But luckily in my business where I'm at, everything has been good to me. It's been 32 years, a lot of prayers, a lot of tears, and we're finally very successful. And I feel a personal gratitude at just giving back. We take very good care of our employees. Bonus wise, we did take advantage of the PPP money that came out, but the majority of that went in bonuses to the employees. And certain things like right here in front of my desk, I don't know if anybody can see this. I've got 10,000 masks piled up there on the floor. So if anybody is looking for masks, I have some more to donate. It just gives you a good feeling to be able to give back without the intent of, well, I'm gonna be on this TCP thing this morning because I would like all these people on here to think about coming to the Countertop Shop and buying countertops. That's not why I'm here. I'm here because they asked me to talk about this 1 in a million award, which I really knew nothing about until Tammy, I guess, nominated me and I won it. I guess the best thing about that is, yes, I'm 1 in a million. There's a million other people out there just like me that are, I think, very conscientious and want to help their communities.
Gotcha. So you say you've been in business for 32 years. So like 32 years ago, did you think like, hey, I'm just going to go in the countertop business? Like, how'd you get started with the Countertop Shop?
Well, after graduating from college, I was commissioned as an officer in the Marine Corps. I spent 4 years there. After I got out, I changed jobs like clockwork every 2 years. I've sold construction equipment. I worked for a steel company. I sold life insurance. I worked for a hydraulic crane manufacturer. And finally one day, back in the days when everybody was downsizing, they got rid of the purchasing agent. I was the production manager. They got rid of the purchasing agent. They said, came out and told me, well, we got rid of Howard today and you're going to take over his duties also. My wife and I talked about it that night, and I said, this is never going to happen to us. And we started looking to purchase a business. Back in 1988, I actually was going to buy the Twiddle Sign Company. The Twiddle Sign Company at that time was run by Brian Heil. And 7 days before we closed the deal, he called me and said, we need to talk. I don't want to sell it. I was frustrated working with my dad. My dad retired. I came up from sweeping floors to running a business, and I don't want to sell it. So we started a sign business from scratch. We had that for 2 years, got out of that in 1990. In 1990, we bought a small commercial cabinet company. And when I say bought, we were extremely lucky. Back then there was a lot of business brokers around town, and this business broker had this cabinet company for sale. I think we paid $50,000 for it. The owner financed half and the bank financed half, and they gave you the keys. So it was very lucky. We had that till 2001 when we decided to get into the residential countertop business. We were doing countertops in the cabinet business, but mainly it was just like Corian and laminate, because all we did was commercial cabinetry, hospitals and schools and that kind of stuff. So in 2001, we bought another company. It was called Solid Surface Studio. And again, it was pretty much the same scenario. I remember we paid $54,000 for that. The only reason I paid $54,000 was the guy had a pickup truck I wanted, and I gave him $4,000 for it. But same situation, bank financed half, owner financed half, and we were in a residential countertop business. He had 3 employees doing about $300,000 a year. And we took that over in 2003. We closed the cabinet company because at that point we were actually doing more countertops than cabinetry, and we wanted to just stay in the countertop side of the business. I'm not at this point not ashamed to say, but back in 2003 when we closed the cabinet company, I got some pretty bad advice and we filed bankruptcy. We really didn't, it wasn't like we walked away from $1 million. I think we actually ended up walking away from about $10,000. The equipment we had was sold and paid off. We refinanced the countertop business. We refinanced our home and basically started out with nothing back in 2003. And here we are today. We will probably do a little over $9 million in countertops this year. We have 39 employees and still growing, still learning every day. So that's how I got into this business.
Wow, that's I came from the corporate industry, and it was the same thing. It was like, hey, by the way, we don't need you anymore. And then when I started, it was like, that's the thing when you're working for somebody, something can happen. Like, just in case of what's happening now, you could feel like everything's secure, and then the rug's pulled out from under you within a day, and then you have to try to figure out how you're going to do things. So I think that's fantastic that you kind of put that mindset in there and said, hey, that's not going to ever happen to me again, because you see it every day.
But it's really easy to say that, but to be able to live it.
Yeah.
And one thing I didn't add was I also have mentored several other countertop shops. Right now there's one down in Mississippi that he's came to visit me. I just started with him about 6 months ago. One in Lansing, Michigan, one in Gresham, Wisconsin, and one out in Eureka, California that we have worked with over the years. And they're all, I keep saying it's not because of me, they're very successful. In fact, I had a phone call from the one out in California last night. She's looking at buying a business or buying a building and expanding her business into the stone countertop business like we are. And she called me last night. They were going to look at a building and wanted my opinion for, I keep telling them it worked for me. I'll suggest it to you. And if it works for you, great. but you got to use your own due diligence when you do these things. But it's a lot of fun at this point, being successful and being able, like I said, to give back to the community and also to help anybody else that is looking for any type of mentorship.
Yeah. So in your career, so you said you started in 1988, so I'm sure you've had a lot of advice and a lot of what would be the thing that you say you're most proud of?
Of doing?
Yeah, I mean, you gave back, you've done so much in the community. So what's the few things that really stick out to you?
That's a really loaded question. I mean, honestly, I don't know if there is one thing that really sticks out. I think that the realization when you come to the point, and I mean, there was a lot of times, my wife and I will tell the same story. There was a lot of times on Thursday night back at the very beginning when, we go home, go to bed and say a prayer that we get a check on Friday to cover payroll. It's not been easy for the 30 years. It's been, it's had some ups and downs. We went through a couple downturns with the housing market and that kind of stuff, but we've managed to survive. And I think that if you want to, I guess I would pin it down and say the one thing that I feel is the best thing in my life is when I was able to actually look at myself and say, not that I've made it, but I'm here. I've got the ability to give back. I've got the ability to help people. And, we've got employees that are very loyal and hardworking for the company. And when your self-satisfaction of saying, okay, I did it. I think that was the best thing in my life.
I got one question for you, Mike. Has the COVID-19 affected your business at all?
Well, yes, it affected us back in the very beginning. January was the best January we've ever had in the history of the company. February was down slightly. March was pretty much a disaster. It started coming back a little bit in April, and since then, May, June, July, we're almost setting record months of production and sales. It affected us more in the fact that other people were affected. I think we only had one job. I think if I remember right, there was only one job that was actually that they canceled it. A couple of them, they put it on hold. They said, well, we're a little senior citizen here, and can we put it on hold for a while until we get through this? But pretty much even those people have realized that, okay, we've got masks and we've got gloves and we've got sanitizer, and we'll do everything we can to protect our customer. We've got chains up in the showroom now. I mean, I know a lot of you have been here for the Christmas party and that stuff. We've got chains up directing the people to the hand sanitizer. All the girls in the showroom wear masks when there's customers present. So it obviously has affected us. Our business right now, I think, is up a little over 3% for the year, which we're profitable. So we've survived.
So, usually when something like this hits and it's so, you really don't have the answers. You're not sure like what to say when your employees come asking, like, because that I think that would be the biggest concern is how do you lead your employees through something that you yourself really haven't experienced.
I missed the first part of your question. You're talking about the COVID, how we led through the COVID thing?
Yeah.
Well, I was actually in Tampa, Florida when they started this whole COVID thing, when the governor started announcing the stay at homes and that kind of stuff. And, the company here kind of went into a panic because we do quite a bit of business in lower Southeast Michigan, also with the builders up there. And no, Michigan shut the state down completely. They weren't allowing anybody to do anything. And so, it was more of a, I guess going back to the Marine Corps as a second lieutenant, you're scared shitless of making a decision, but everybody's looking at you and saying, what are you going to do? And a month or two into this, I had one of the employees say, I'm really glad that you decided to keep the place open and do what you do, because if you wouldn't have made that decision, I would have stayed home. I would have hid in my basement and not come out. And we had one scare. We had one employee that tested positive, but he self-quarantined a few days before is when he started getting the symptoms. We tested the people that were around him, and everybody came back negative. So, we got through that. The hardest part, I guess, of leading in something like that, where it's really an unknown, is I guess I told them this before. I'm 68 years old. I've never been 68. I've never run a company this size. I've never had this many employees. So every day is a new experience for me. The COVID thing, same thing. Everybody kind of looks at you and says, I don't know. I don't have the magic answer, but I'm here every day. I'm doing what I do. And I think they've all realized that we're doing everything we can to keep everybody safe. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is just leading by example. Do you feel like your military experience helps you with that?
Well, probably. I mean, leadership is, a lot of this sounds like buzzwords or things that the motivational guys would say, but you have to lead by example. I mean, I can't, and I still feel guilty taking off in the middle of the day to go do something personal. I guess if you expect people to work for you, you've got to work for them. So I'm here.
Gotcha. And when did you open your new building? I've been in there. I mean, I've been in there for a couple of the networking events, and it's fantastic. If you guys haven't been there, you definitely need to check it out.
Yeah, tours are free. we don't charge for tours. October of 2015, we moved in. We were in the Westwoods Industrial Park. Prior to that, we leased a building there for the 10 years prior to that, and finally decided that the building was too small, and for the amount of rent that we were paying, that we could really get financed and build a building. So we moved in October 2015, and I think 2017 we added on to the building to bring all of our granite storage and everything inside. So when people come, they can view inside rather than having to go outside in the weather.
Gotcha. So what's the big trend? What's everybody want in their house?
I've listened to so many Zoom calls in the last few months, I don't even know anymore. The National Kitchen and Bath Association, the last seminar I was on with them, said that 40% of the American people are sitting in kitchens, looking at their kitchen and hating it. They don't like the cabinets, they don't like the countertops, they don't, so they figure 40% of the people are going to remodel. What the real estate agents, I know there's a couple on here, have said is that there is a real housing shortage. I know several people that have looked to buy houses and they offer more than the asking price and they still don't get the purchase. A lot of people, according to the statistics that I have, everybody wanted to move downtown to the lofts and stuff years ago. Well, now they all want to get back out in the open spaces. They don't want to be cooped up again if another epidemic hits. So I think the trend right now is with mortgage rates as low as they are, there's still a lot of people out there want to buy houses. And in my business, if you're looking for countertops, the man-made products, the quartz products are the most popular, easiest to maintain, and not necessarily the cheapest product, but good value.
Great. I know Michelle Kiplin's on here, and she's been doing a lot of the real estate photography. And I think when I see her, like the kitchen photo is always the one that like catches my eye when I'm looking at houses. So, and it's always the countertop, and I'm like, man, look at that countertop, it looks terrible.
Our competition did that one.
Yeah. Hopefully it's job security for you, because it seems like always the one that really that sticks out to people at the kitchen. So so hopefully that it just make sure your business is going to keep thriving on that. So
Well, I think it's very true. I mean, I know myself, you know, the first thing people say when they walk in is everybody congregates in the kitchen, you know, around the island, or,
True. Yeah.
you know, so it's good for us.
Awesome. Well, we have about 5 minutes left or so. Does anybody have any questions for Mike?
I have one question for you, Mike. Have you run into any type of material type shortages at all during these times?
No, of course, there's been a couple colors here and there that is back ordered, the more popular stuff. But going back to the first of the year, they put a really heavy tariff on anything coming out of China. I know we hear a lot about Trump and China and all this kind of stuff, but one of the manufacturers, Cambria, which is located up in Minnesota, they filed a lawsuit with the Federal Trade Commission, I guess, that they said that China was dumping quartz in the United States at a cheap price. And they put a really significant tariff on quartz coming in. So prior to the epidemic, most of the companies in China had moved their production to Turkey or India, South Vietnam. You know, so they had known this was coming, so they had moved and ramped up production. So the COVID thing, and then again with COVID, most of the stuff that we produce, I wouldn't say that they didn't shut down, but I don't think they lost a lot of production time. So there was still an abundance. I would say going forward here, things are really booming in the building market. Lumber prices, I heard, is up 140%. So who knows? Right now, we haven't seen any real price increases and shortages in our business. So.
Awesome. Anybody else have any questions?
It's Laura. Anything in closing about the golf outing or the charities that will benefit from those who decide to play?
Well, I guess we're having a call right after this about, because I'm on the golf committee too. We're having a call right after this to talk about that. It looks like we have a pretty good sign up. We still need teams for it. We've made a few changes. The one thing we're changing, if anybody's interested in playing, is we're not having a lunch. We're going to be giving out a gift card to, I believe, Texas Roadhouse. Instead of having a lunch there, we're going to buy gift cards and give it to people. But we still need players. It looks like it's going pretty decent at this point. I haven't seen any really updates. Like I say, we're having a meeting right after this call to talk about that. But yeah, it's on September 18th, and it goes to charity. The proceeds of it, 10% of the proceeds will go to the Chamber Scholarship Fund, which we award scholarships, 2 scholarships every year to Springfield students. I guess it's just because of the Holland Springfield Chamber. 50% of the proceeds, or 45% of the proceeds, will go to Build-A-Beds. It used to be Sleep in Heavenly Peace, but now it's Build Beds or something locally. And the other half will go to the chamber to help support next year's operations. So.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mike, who's the main sponsor for that?
Some guy?
I don't know.
Just some guy who lends his advice.
The Miwa.
So you said you do mentoring for different countertop shops. Do you do mentoring for just businesses in general?
Yes, I mean, I have. I've met with a few people through the small business SBDC at the chamber. You know, I've met business that way. I'm more than happy to sit down and talk to anybody. I had the Toledo Chamber came out the other day. They have a grant from the state, and there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people from the chamber came out here to sit down with me and talk about what they might be able to do with, and it's not just the chamber, but it was the Small Business Development Center. There's some money available from the state that you can use for development and employees and this kind of stuff. And they basically, we sat down here for, I don't know, they were here like an hour and a half and we talked about business, and they were very impressed that I knew my numbers and I was able to share, or willing to share my numbers. A lot of people won't do that. And I think that's where, you know, if I had the opportunity, I'll meet with anybody. And if I can't help you, I'll tell you, but if I can do something to help, I certainly will.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate your time, Mike. I mean, you have a fantastic story. And if anybody is interested in sitting down and maybe having a conversation, I'm sure he's around with the 50,000 other things that you got going on. But I think that's been the thing that's always stood out about you, is that you're always willing to take the time. I know you're busy. I mean, you're trying to run, you know, a $9 million business on top of everything else that you got going on, but you always make time to help out a fellow business owner. So that's what I think stands out the most about you, and I really appreciate that. So I know the chamber appreciates it too, and we were asking about who we could kind of tap to for resources in terms of knowledge. I believe that your name was brought up the most. So just kind of keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate the fact that you're just learning through experience, and you, for saying that you've been doing it for that long and still saying you're still new at this is kind of interesting, because, you know, you've been doing it for over 30 years, but you're like, hey, I'm still new. I'm still figuring things out every day. So I think that's my biggest takeaway. And I think that's pretty much it. Do you have anything in closing?
The one thing that I would say, and I know the chamber is putting together some mentoring, you know, programs and this kind of stuff. The one thing I would tell anybody out there is put your ego and your pride aside and don't be afraid to ask a question. I mean, I look at every day, anybody that wants to come here and talk to me and give me tell me I'm doing something wrong, or that I should maybe look at this, I'm not offended by it at all. I know I have a good business, but I'm always learning. So if anybody has any questions or feels any doubt with their business, don't be afraid to ask. There's a lot of help out there. Not just me, there's a lot. Don't be afraid to ask.
Absolutely. So we got about 3 minutes left. Does anybody have any announcements or anything coming up that they want to talk about? I know I got one. Tammy sent me the details for the bring your own lunch networking. So it is outside. It is 11:30 on Thursday at Pavilion Homecoming Park on Angola. So we do have that's kind of the first networking event that we have done. It was supposed to be the luncheon, but it kept getting pushed back, and every time we thought we had a venue, the venue called us and told us that they couldn't do it. So we figured a park is probably the easiest way to do it. So if you guys have some time at 11:30 on Thursday, we are doing kind of a social distancing networking thing. Todd has already said that he's mastered the way to stare into your soul from 6 feet away. So I'll be interested to see Todd do that. So hopefully he's there so everybody can see it. But that's it, guys. That concludes the meeting. Mike, thanks again for your time. I had a fantastic conversation with you, and I think we all had some really good takeaways. So I appreciate it.
Thanks.
And everybody go to the Countertop Shop, and I mean, he literally has chains that tell you exactly where to go, so it works out perfectly. So that's it, guys. If we don't have anything else, I appreciate your time and keep doing what we're doing.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thanks
All
again,
right,
Mike.
see you, Mike.
Good to see everyone.